Now, since the release of Bump in the Road, what has been the most impactful or surprising feedback you've received from readers?
You know what really blew me away? And this was actually part of the publication process. Um, I didn't have to, but I wanted some endorsements for the book. And I found I was terrified to ask for endorsements. I mean, it was like this big, cold, hard rock that came down my path. Boom, total terror, which is stupid, but it was really remarkable. And when I sat down and I really looked at that sense of fear, I realized that it was a sense of fear that came out of a million little life experiences where you're criticized or you're not accepted or whatever, or you're rejected. And I realized I just had to get through this. When I realized it was rejection I was dealing with, at least I began to understand it. And I'd love to tell, I'll tell you a story in a minute if you'd like about how I
Yeah.
worked through that, because it's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I got through it, sucked it up, right? Wrote out, the emails, and I got endorsements back. And at first I couldn't even read them. I was like, oh my gosh, I guess can't even look. And then after a few days, I went back, and every now and then I still go back. And I'm just blown away by the kindness of what people have written. It's amazing. And I think that is something that's really meaningful for me that has come out of the book. And the way I dealt with that, it was an interesting experience. It was definitely a little bit of a bump. Um, but I had interviewed Jill Bolta Taylor, who was a Harvard brain researcher, and she did a TED Talk called My Stroke of Insight and wrote a book by the same name. Her recent book, Whole Brain Living, had come out, and it's amazing. Now, I'm going to poorly paraphrase all the science in this, okay? You really need to read the book, but she looks at the brain in terms of four different areas. The left frontal cortex is the part of you that's really in charge, gets things done. And she names the different parts of her brains. I call that part of my brain star. She's a star, she deadline, no problem. Whatever it is, she gets it done. The left back part of your brain is the part of you that wants to keep you safe, and it stores all your history and everything that's ever happened to you. It's past oriented, but its goal is to keep you safe. I call it the neurotic part of your brain, and I call mine dark star. So on the right side, then, we have on the right rear side of the brain, we have the part of you that is a perpetual 4-year-old who loves ice cream and would take 6 flavors of ice cream out of the freezer, have a spoonful of each, and leave them on the counter to melt and just not care. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I raise my? I don't know how that
Oh,
hand happened.
you were just giving me
Yeah,
a high
it
five. That's
flipped.
all. I saw that too. I was like, oh, okay. That was a high five.
Uh, there we go. So that part, my 2-year-old or 4-year-old part of the brain, I call her Joy. She's just fun to be with. I like to hang with her. And then the right front part of your brain is that more spiritual, expansive, connected part. And the idea behind the book, Whole Brain Living, is to have all these pieces talk to each other, coordinate, and use their strengths in a way that benefits your decision making. So with that perspective, I realized that it was my dark star, the neurotic part of my brain, that was just having a total meltdown. And I had Joy, my fun 4-year-old, sit down and just listen. And I found this technique fascinating because what happened was all the rejection I think I'd ever experienced, there's so much of it just poured out. It was astonishing the things that came out. And as that was released and as Joy listened with empathy, everything calmed down and that block disappeared. And I found that so interesting.